Hey team, welcome to another episode of Femme Fatale After Dark. This episode will be part of my 0 to NVGs beginner series, and in this one we're going to talk Airsoft 101, so types of Airsoft, safety rules and first hits. So first up, what is Airsoft? Airsoft is a game of simulated gun combat that is played worldwide by players of all ages, genders, backgrounds, religion, etc., in which the objective is to eliminate your opponent using 6mm plastic BBs. It originated in Japan in the 1970s as a safe and legal alternative to real firearms due to gun legislation. Airsoft is very similar to paintball, as much as we airsofters may like to protest, in the way that people team up at dedicated insured sites to shoot at and be shot by each other for fun and sport. Where Airsoft differs, however, is that Airsoft is intended to be much more realistic than paintball, in the clothes that we wear and the replicas that we use. Whilst paintball markers typically don't look like real guns, unless of course you're playing MagFed, Airsoft riffs, or realistic imitation firearms, are 99% of the time modelled after genuine firearms and are almost indistinguishable from the real thing. The style of Airsoft are also more likely to wear realistic kit, including plate carriers, chest rigs, helmets, to look more realistic. And as there's no paint or any identifiable way of knowing you've been hit, Airsoft relies entirely on an honour system. There are different styles of Airsoft, as not everyone wants to dress realistically or even wants to shoot at or be shot at by other players. So let's chat about the different kinds of Airsoft. So first up we have skirmish, and this is usually how people get into the sport. So an Airsoft skirmish, otherwise known as a game day, a walk-on or a pick-up game, usually consists of two teams shooting at each other whilst in a combat scenario. These scenarios can simply be a team deathmatch, or have more complicated objectives such as capturing the flag. Then we have milsim. So milsims are similar to a skirmish, but it's much more focused on the military simulation aspect, and they are much longer. So during a milsim, we organise into teams that have command structures, and they'll be given taskings and objectives to complete. Milsims are longer, running anywhere from 24 hours to 72 hours of continuous play. So you eat, sleep and shit in-game, so make sure you wear that eye pro when you sleep and lock those Portaloo doors. There's been many a Portaloo accident because people have not locked the doors at a milsim. Then we have battle sims, and battle sims are essentially shorter milsims. Think all-day events that are usually played for 8 to 12 continuous hours. Then we have AIPSC, and AIPSC is a target shooting sport. Now, shooters use airsoft guns to shoot at paper and metal targets whilst being timed and scored according to particular rules. There are shooting clubs around the world that compete in AIPSC competitions, and sometimes they have monetary prizes. Lastly, we have Speedsoft. So Speedsoft, I would say, is the airsoft equivalent of paintball speedball. It's a fast-paced tournament-like game that disregards the military aspect completely and instead focuses on fast shooting, fast movement in arenas. Whilst this style of airsoft is relatively young, it has exploded in popularity over the last few years and is only getting more popular. Now let's go over some general rules and safety. Safety is the number one priority when playing airsoft. All players over the age of 18 must at minimum wear a pair of high impact rated eye protection. If a player is under the age of 18, however, a site's insurance will usually dictate that they need to wear a full face protection, such as a paintball mask. And it is recommended that everyone wears lower face protection. BBs can and have and will continue to shatter teeth. It's recommended at most sites that you wear good footwear with ankle protection, such as hiking boots, especially if you're playing outdoors because there's uneven ground and holes like rabbit warrens, and they can be real pesky for your ankles. All airsoft guns need to be tested with a chronograph before each game by site staff to ensure they are under the legal limits, as we have restrictions on their power in the UK. So most sites in the UK operate a site limit of 300 FPS or feet per second for pistols and AEGs, up to 500 FPS for bolt action sniper rifles, although these can differ depending on what site you're at, so it's always best to check their website before you go. Although different sites and game modes have different rules, some rules are universal, such as dead players don't talk, meaning that if you've been eliminated, you can't give away another player's position to a live player, and no blind firing, which means you must be able to see where your BB is travelling to. Now, let's get on to first hits. What does getting hit actually feel like? And I think with that, it entirely depends on where you're hit and if you're wearing any protection on that part of your body. So say you're wearing a plate carrier and you get hit in the chest. So you may feel a thud and hear an impact, but you probably won't feel any pain. If you got shot on your thighs whilst wearing a pair of trousers, you might feel a small sting. And if you get shot on your bare knuckles, you're probably going to want to cry. Airsoft is a game of honour, so when you've been hit by another player, there won't be a visible mark, and it's down to you as the player to call yourself out by raising your hand and shouting hit loud enough for the person who's shooting at you to hear. Top tip, make sure you move out of the way quickly to just avoid being overshot by live players. Not hit calling is classed as cheating, and although hits can be missed if you haven't heard or felt them, this isn't an excuse to not take a hit. If you're in doubt, take the hit, as respawn is only a short walk away. And if another player tells you, hey mate, I think you got shot, best to take it anyway. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Femme Fatale After Dark as part of my 0 to NVG series. Join me next time for site expectations cost and a beginner game day checklist. See you later, team.